Imagine two people sitting across from each other at a retirement dinner. They both work the same corporate grind for 35 years. They both have exactly $2 million sitting in their accounts. But tonight, why? One of them is confidently mapping out a month-long trip to Portugal. The other is staring blankly at their dinner plate, internally panicking, because the market dropped 2% this afternoon. They are mentally adding and subtracting numbers on a napkin, terrified that this slight dip means they can't afford to replace their aging car. They both reached the exact same financial peak, but only one of them actually survived the climb. If you are the person sweating over the math, I need you to listen closely. You've not done anything wrong. You are not undisciplined. You are not financially illiterate. You are simply trapped inside a mechanism that was built to keep you terrified. For decades, Wall Street and the tax code engineered a perfectly rigged game. Imagine you are walking through a brilliantly lit casino. You have spent 40 years meticulously collecting chips, playing by their rules, and accumulating a massive stack. But as you finally turn to head toward the exit, you realize there are no doors. The architecture of the building was specifically designed to disorient you, keeping you at the tables until you slowly bleed back every single chip you earned. Why? Your anxiety is not a personal failure. It is a feature of the system. They treated you like a macroeconomic battery designed to be charged up with capital over 40 years, only to be slowly drained by the system just when you thought you were free. They convinced you that your biggest enemy was a sudden market crash. But the real monster isn't volatility. It is a quiet, microscopic leak. You are losing your wealth to silent fees, insidious inflation, and a tax code designed to harvest your life's work the moment you stop producing a paycheck. They want you frozen in fear, because behavioral psychology dictates that if you are afraid to touch your money, you will leave it exactly where it is. And as long as your capital sits there, the industry keeps skimming their percentage, and the government lines up its future tax revenue. This is exactly why you are suffering from the one more year syndrome. You keep telling yourself that if you just grind through 12 more months, you just hit 2.5 million, you will finally feel secure. But the goalpost is an illusion. It will always move. You are terrified that taking money out is somehow cannibalizing your own survival. I have seen brilliant, hardworking people walk straight into a buzzsaw at age 65. They take one wrong withdrawal, trigger a phantom tax, and suddenly watch their Medicare premiums spike by $15,000 in a single year. Their safe conservative portfolio gets eaten alive by inflation, leaving them practically broke while sitting on a mountain of cash. If you feel like you are standing on a trap door, we are going to fix your structure right now. Hit the subscribe button. Why? Because we are dismantling the lies and giving you the actual blueprint to get out of the casino. To escape the matrix, you must stop hoarding and start engineering. You need to pull 3 specific systemic levers. Lever number 1. You must neutralize the tax time bomb. The system wants you to defer all your taxes into your 4-0-1. Because macroeconomic planners know tax rates will eventually have to rise. If you do not intentionally pay taxes now at lower brackets, the IRS will force you to take required minimum distributions later. They will violently push you into the highest possible tax bracket when you are 75 and completely defenseless. Lever number 2. You must build a cash shield, not a bond trap. The traditional advice told you to move everything into safe bonds as you get older. That is financial suicide in a high-inflation environment. Instead, you separate exactly 2 years of living expenses into pure cash. This is your psychological armor. When the stock market bleeds, you do not care. You do not have to sell a single share at a loss because your life is already funded for the next 24 months. Lever number 3, you must master the healthcare cliff. Before age 65, your health insurance is tied directly to your taxable income. Pulling out $1 extra from the wrong account can cross an invisible government threshold. Cross that line by a single penny, and the system will legally strip away thousands of dollars in healthcare subsidies overnight. You do not need a higher return on your investments. You need an impenetrable defense against the system's quiet leakage. Think back to that sinking feeling in your chest a few years ago when the market started bleeding out. You watched your screen as a massive chunk of your life's work vanished in a matter of weeks. Panic set in. The financial media was screaming that the sky was falling, and you did exactly what human psychology wired you to do when your survival feels threatened. You sold. You moved to cash to stop the bleeding, only to sit on the sidelines with a pit in your stomach, watching the market violently rebound without you. Or maybe your trap was quieter than that. Maybe it was the slow, insidious creep of your own lifestyle that kept the chains tight around your ankles. You took the promotion, you worked the grueling 60-hour weeks, and you sacrificed your health and your family dinners for a bigger paycheck. But somehow, at the end of every single month, the money just evaporated. The cars got a little newer, the neighborhood got a little safer, but your bank account never seemed to reflect the sheer amount of blood and sweat you were pouring into your career. You ran faster and faster on a treadmill that someone else was constantly speeding up. If you are nodding your head right now, carrying a heavy knot of guilt in your stomach because you feel like you should be further ahead, if you feel like you are behind schedule, or like you just aren't wealthy enough despite a lifetime of relentless grinding, I need you to drop that baggage right now. You are not financially incompetent. You are not lazy. Why? You are simply playing a game where the house always wins, because they never gave you the actual rule book. They taught you how to be a compliant worker. They taught you how to be a perfect, obedient accumulator, but they never gave you the permission slip to actually live. You have been carrying a baseline level of financial anxiety for so long that you think it is just a normal part of getting older. It is not. Today, I am handing you that permission slip. You are allowed to stop feeling guilty for wanting to spend your own money. You do not have to hoard every penny for a catastrophic event that statistically will never happen. And you certainly do not need to leave a massive tax-burdened inheritance to a system that will just swallow it whole. Why? True wealth is not about having $5 million sitting in a brokerage account while your blood pressure is dangerously high. It is waking up on a Tuesday morning, looking out the window, and knowing that your time belongs entirely to you. Why? It is having the flexibility to walk away when the corporate weather turns sour, knowing that your structure protects your tomorrow. It is knowing that you have engineered a tax shield, a defined healthcare safety net, and a cash buffer that makes you financially bulletproof. But you will never achieve that level of absolute freedom if you keep playing by their rules. Why? You have to systematically dismantle the tax traps and the fee-draining accounts that are keeping you tethered to the machine. Tonight, I want you to do exactly one single thing. Open up your 401k or your IRA portal. Look at how your money is actually structured and ask yourself if you are still blindly feeding the exact same traps you fell into 20 years ago. Identify your leak. That is your very first step to taking your life back. I do not make these videos for the Wall Street elite. I do not make them for people looking for a get-rich-quick crypto scheme or for the toxic hustle culture telling you to grind until you drop dead. I make these videos for the exhausted accumulators. I make them for the people who refuse to be pawns in a rigged economic game any longer. For those who are ready to wake up, take back their capital, and finally buy back their remaining time on this earth. If that is you, hit that subscribe button. Join this community of people who are permanently opting out of the matrix. Leave a comment below and tell me what is the very first thing you will do when you finally realize you have enough. I read every single one. Stop surviving. Start exiting.